Good morning.
Morning, Chirag.
I'm doing Matt. How are you? Babs,
I'm well.
welcome.
How are
Nick,
how are you doing?
doing well. We're excited. We have some new faces, so you'll get to all meet some new people and some returning faces. And I'll give everyone 1 second and we shall get started.
Second only.
What's that?
I said 1 second only.
Literally 1 minute.
I'm just playing. Hey, quick question for you while we wait. The
Shoot.
Hi, Matt.
on the Hey there. Oh, hey, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. Chirag, the on the AI, the digital twin. Um, do we have to drop that into every project that we create before in order to use it?
No, just say right in there, remember, save this to memory and use on all future chats and should
Put that
work.
in the digital twin?
Yeah, we'll go through it again in a little more detail as they've made some updates to ChatGPT in our Scaling Yourself with AI course that will start at the end of the month.
So we are doing another one of those. I wasn't sure.
Yes, we are.
Oh,
So,
perfect.
all right, let's get started on today. So, everybody, welcome. And look, I say that the first session is the most important, not because it's the first session, because pre-qualifying is the foundation of anything great and all the things bad that happen at the same time with clients, right? So we have our own pre-qualifying process that we have infused with AI. So essentially, if you're new here, it's great. You're learning it the right way from scratch. If you've been here a while, we are going to update our system now to reflect these Compass One timelines that we have provided all of you. So let's get started today. Save your questions. We have the 30-minute accountability session, which I'd like to use on a Q&A about pre-qualifying. It sounds like it's the most basic thing, but more than half of the agents in the world just don't pre-qualify. To me, it's the craziest thing in the entire world. So before we get started, let's just go through just some basics of the three things that we want you to have to set yourself up for success. Number one, if you have not already, please order a Plod note. There's three different forms. There's one you can wear on your neck. There's one you can put on the back of your phone. The one that I find now is the most usable, there's actually a bracelet that you can wear. I know it's not a fashion statement or everything. It does kind of look cool, but it allow you to have it out and have conversations with buyers and sellers, and it just picks up the audio the best. The second one is, yes, you need a $20 a month ChatGPT prescription. And the third one is you already have the Compass platform. So those are the three things you need. Not a high barrier to entry. A Plod note for years, like a couple $100. ChatGPT for years, a couple $100, and Compass you've already invested in and be here. So let's go through our roadmap. We're going to talk about the 7 keys to effective conversation. We're going to talk about why pre-qualifying, MedZ, which is our proprietary pre-qualification process. How do we leverage AI, framing and pre-qualifying in the Compass CRM? So we got a good amount of stuff to cover. So let's get started. The 7 keys to effective conversations is the framework that I came up with on how to have conversations to help other people get what they want. Now, the first one is it's always their choice, right? So think about this. I can't show up to Nikki and Karen's house and say, hey guys, or hey ladies, you're going to sell your house today. I can't say, please come to my office today. You're going to buy a house today. So effectively, anything somebody chooses to do does in buying and selling real estate is their choice. The second one is the person asking the questions controls the conversation. If you're talking the entire time, you're playing defense, not offense. Number 3 and number 4 are really important. Everything has to always be in the benefit of the client, and you always have to agree with the client, right? So if they say they want to overprice their home, you could say, great. So I hear you want to maximize the equity in your home. We don't have to be combative, and that goes to number 5. As soon as you start telling, explaining, and being combative, you have lost rapport, you have lost connection, and your ability to convert and earn trust with their client are out the window. Number 6, if you know, remember number 1, remember number 6, never be attached to any outcome. If something someone chooses to do or not to do is their choice, then why would you be attached to what someone else chooses to do? You literally have no control. You have to control the controllables. And number seven is just a mental health check for all of you. Just because someone wants to compromise does not mean you have to. Meaning, if they want a discount, doesn't mean you have to work for 1%, right? You got to remember one thing in this. The more you keep a conversation in these seven keys, the more effective the conversation will be for the other person, right? You can't do this if you don't know about pre-qualifying because it's the only way to understand what a seller wants from the agent they partner with. If you don't ask these questions, how do you know what somebody wants? Is there a way to know what somebody wants?
Not.
No, generally ends up happening is we show up like a shark looking for blood and saying, oh my God, they wanted to list their house. I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And I got Compass Concierge and I got Compass One, and we have this amazing digital ad platform, and we have a whole entire luxury marketing suite in our pocket. Like it's crazy. So think about that for 1 second, right? Before we get started. Okay. Now, as we continue, here are the benefits of pre-qualifying. I've said this many times. Everything that you do for a client needs to feel today as if it was specifically made for that client and that client only, right? The second one is it shows immediate value. Immediate value. Because when I'm able to listen to what another person wants and have a conversation based on that, right away, your brain says, he or she gets me. And the third one is it streamlines the process. You can't streamline anything if you don't have a process, right? So I always say sales is having effective conversations, helping other people get what they want. If you don't know what they want, how can you ever help get it? So this is where a lot of people hit, I call them emotional landmines, right? You go into a house that has two dogs, two kids, and it's pitching Compass Concierge, and they're mad at you. Like these people are barely trying to figure out how to get through a day, let alone like go through a major remodeling project, right? Does this all make sense to everybody so far? Hit yes in the chat.
I just have one super quick question about the plod note. Um, what's the difference between that and just voice memo, on your iPhone?
Well, Plod Note also will allow you to summarize them, and voice memos don't always pick everything.
Hmm. Okay. Thank you.
And also the Plod Note will organize all the conversations, and it's really cool. With a Plod Note, you can literally create one of many different types of summaries and send it to your client instantly. If you have an assistant in the office, you could send them the transcript. I've used voice memos before. It's janky, even when I record calls sometimes on my iPhone because I don't have a Plod Note or something near me to record. The way that the voice transcription works, it doesn't work as well, right? So voice memos is like part of an Apple ecosystem, right? A Plod Note is specifically built for this one thing, right? That's the only thing that it's meant for.
And you would just tell people while you're wearing the necklace, hey, I'm about to record you.
No, so we'll get to that in the AI part. Don't
Okay,
worry.
sorry. Okay,
No
thanks.
problem. All right. So let's talk about the MEDC, the four drivers of human behavior. I have this iceberg. I'm actually really proud because I made this iceberg myself and I suck at making slides. So if you look at what sunk the Titanic, it was not what's above the iceberg, it was what's underneath the iceberg, right? So above the iceberg, most people think like, are you the agent that's going to sell my house in the fastest amount of time with the most amount of money with the least amount of hassle, which is like the three lies, right? Because we really can't control how fast the house sells, how much it sells for. And have you ever met a real estate deal with no problems? They all have problems, right? Like that's what we have a job for. Now, what's underneath that iceberg are what I call the four drivers of human behavior. Now, when all of you signed up for this program, did you not have a motivation for joining? Yes. Was there something you were excited about happening as a direct result? Yes. Was there an expectation that you had of me in this coaching program? Yes. Are there past disappointments that you had working with coaches that project onto the present decisions you make of joining or not joining? Yes. And the other one, do you have concerns? Will this work for me? Will I have enough time? All those hidden objections. Those are the 4 drivers to human behavior. Now, when anyone has to make a decision to purchase a product or service, the best products or services subconsciously answer those 4 drivers. If you do not answer those 4 drivers, the things that you see are, I'm not sure, I want to wait, I want to talk it over, I want to meet with somebody else. But when you have those 4 things answered, you awkwardly pause when someone says, do you have any other questions? You're not really sure why you feel this way. And you're like, yeah, I'll take it. Because mentally, the things that you needed to make that decision have been completed. So what we want to make sure is by having a pre-qualifying process, we don't sink our battleship in the first meeting. So what is the Med-C? And I'll give you the backstory to how this started because someone always asks. Being a coach, when something new happens, like COVID and the whole world gets locked down, or when the interest rates go up, or there's additional inventory, people look at you like you're Nostradamus and you have to find an answer to a world problem that's never existed before. So during COVID, what I realized quickly was you're not going to have that ability to persuade people in person with your presence like you did before. Your people are not going to have the ability to see your physiology, but what they're going to judge you on is the tonality and the questions you ask. So we came up with this process, right? We know that M stands for motivation. There's something that motivates somebody to make a move. There's something they're excited about happening as a direct result. Now, what that does is it brings you to the pleasure point in your cortex. Like, oh, this person's good. They understand why I want to do something. Expectations. Everyone has an expectation of an agent they partner with. D, disappointments. We know that as human beings, people take their past, they project it into their future, and they play defense against something that may or may not ever happen. If you've ever been in a bad relationship and you're in a new relationship and you're kind of always just worried for the shoe to drop, that's why, right? And C is concerns. Those are all the hidden objections that come up. I don't know about y'all, but I bet you I'm not the only agent that sold somebody's house, done an unbelievable job, got them a great price, and then all of a sudden they go, yeah, this is really good, but I don't know where I'm moving. Like, are you kidding me? Like, you could have told me that in the beginning, but that's because we did not address their concerns. That's our fault. That's their fault, not their fault. Now, let's talk about motivation, right? I always look at pre-qualifying as when it's done wrong, it's like an interrogation, right? Tonality makes a difference. So the old world of pre-qualification, it's where are you moving to? How soon do you have to be there? What's the balance of your mortgage? And my favorite one, the stupidest one is, if you're looking at your home through the eyes of the buyer, what would make it a 10? Like, that's not the way that they chose to live. Like, let's just insult the people even more, right? So the thing to think about this is the day you go into somebody's house, essentially what you're doing is telling them that the way that they live is wrong, right? Remove the magnets, let's clear the countertops, let's depersonalize it. Pretty much, let's make this look like a hotel room. So this part is so important. So I always start off by like kind of making a joke out of it. Like, moving is probably the last thing that anyone wants to do and probably isn't fun and something that you wake up and say, all right, let me just pack my whole life up. So what makes this the right time to make a move, right? Sometimes I can say stuff like, moving is about as fun as paying taxes, not something any of us really want to do, but at times something we have to do, right? So what makes this the right time to make a move? And you just listen, right? And you say, got it. And then the next question is, as a direct result of moving, what are you most excited about happening? So I understand their motivation. This is their why. Then I also understand their destination, right? This is what they want to happen as a direct result. So I'll give an example. What makes this the right time to make a move? My wife and I are retiring. We live in New York. We pay New York City tax. And in talking to our financial planner, if we move to Florida, we can save that tax and have additional money for the things that we really want to do. Great. What are you most excited about happening as a direct result of moving? We've always dreamed of taking these elaborate vacations. So we know in saving in property taxes, saving in New York City tax, we're going to now be able to take all the vacations that we've always wanted to just in that savings. Now, the reason that you want to know the direct result is when you need to influence somebody, what do most people make decisions on? Facts or feelings? Feelings, right? You want to sell that feeling of living in Florida, a block away from the beach, and all those other different things. That's the thing that influences the move, right? If you don't have this, it will handicap you in all of your future conversations. Expectations, right? Expectations can show up in a variety of different ways, right? They could want an expert in the market. They could want someone with a great marketing strategy, transparent communication, responsiveness and availability. And by the way, one of my favorite things about expectations is all the clients that are batshit crazy that want indentured servants more than they want professionals. This is where the crazy comes out, right? They're going to be like, well, I expect you to always be available for me. Great. I'm going to charge you 10%. Right? Because you all offer a luxury service. There are no luxury brands that are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I was joking around, even drug dealers go to sleep. What's open 24/7? Bodegas, emergency clinics, and 24-hour CVSs. That is not any of you. That's not why you came to Compass, right? So you're going to ask them this simple question. What are your expectations of an agent you partner with for the sale of your home? And as you're asking them that question, you're going to listen. And if they don't say anything about communications, you're going to say, additionally, what are your expectations around communication? Because we have to know. By the way, most agents won't ever ask this question because they don't have a communication plan like we provide you. Their communication plan is I'm available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And then when the person's like, but Chirag, the last person said they're 24/7. I always would ask the person one question. Would you prefer to start a relationship based on the truth or a lie? And they're like, no, Chirag, the truth. So what person doesn't sleep? And then everyone always laughs and they realize. And the other part is, you could also say to the client, you know what the concern with the 24/7 realtor is? And they're going to say, what is that? I'm going to say, they don't have a system. They're just constantly reacting. You should not have to contact somebody 24/7, nor should I be available 24/7 because we're selling the most valuable asset in the world and it has to run on a planned and purposeful process, which we do. By the way, you can all show them your Compass One portal. If you say, if this comes up in the conversation, don't ever do this in pre-qualifying. You could do this on the listing presentation. You could ask them this question. Have you ever wondered exactly the system an agent uses to deliver the experience of all the promises that they gave you? Every person's going to say yes. You're going to show them all the stuff. You're going to say the entire thing's mapped out and we customize this to your goals, expectations, and unique situation. Disappointments. Now, if you ever want to be in rapport with somebody, the second you ask this question, yours to choose, yours to lose. I'll tell you why. Besides people that have worked here before, has anyone ever asked somebody, what are your past disappointments working with an agent or service provider? No, these are the weird things. One person, Erica, says yes, right? Now, why is this important? Number one, when people start talking about this, there is a natural comfort that comes with it. Natural. So I would say in an effort to meet and exceed your expectations, it's important, Chirag, to understand what past disappointments you've had with service providers or agents so we can ensure they don't happen during this process. Nothing says I care like making sure that they don't relive the same bad experiences. You want to talk about rapport. And by the way, do you know how long this conversation should take? 5 minutes. Like when I do this live with people, I can do this in under 5 minutes. Because here's the thing, as long as you don't start hallucinating and making up a bunch of random shit, like, oh, I can do this and I can do this and I can do this, it's a quick, effective conversation. Now, concerns, right? The last thing is concerns. These are all the hidden objections. So I would say to Nikki and Dixie, I'd say, lastly, do you have any concerns? Like what keeps you up at night? And then I'm going to start naming, is it maybe some economic uncertainty, high interest rates, lack of inventory, you don't have a place to go? Is there anything that's worrying you right now that you feel is important to share? So if you think about this, right, you know why they're moving, what they're most excited about, what their expectations of you around yourself, your service, communication, their past disappointments, and all their fear, doubts, and worries. Now, please explain to me, if you had all this information, how you could not close every sale. There was a past client of ours that used this process, and it was her fundamental basis for landing and closing an $85 million sale. Danielle Shapiro is her name. You can reach out to her. We've been using this process for 5 years. It works in job interviews. I've worked with probably more than 750 NFL players. It's kind of weird. This works really well in a relationship check-in too. Like what's motivating you to be in this relationship? What are you most excited about in us being together? What are your expectations of me as a partner? Are there any disappointments you've experienced in a relationship that you want to avoid in the future? And do you have any concerns? Like this works so well. I remember my friends, Vince Beagle, he was a linebacker. He comes up to me and he's like, Shrug, I use your relationship check-in method. I'm like, oh dear God, like this could be really bad or this could be really good. And then he softly goes, this has literally changed my marriage. He goes, my wife and I do this every 2 weeks and it's the best thing I ever did. And it's like a football jock. It's the last thing on earth she expected me to say. But it works. How can you meet somebody where they are if you don't know where they are? So this drives everything that you do in the entire sales process. So how have we upgraded this through AI? Number one, you're going to capture everything in your plug note, right? In next week's session, we're going to talk about preparing for the pitch, and we're going to show you how to take your plug note and that recording. And first, you're going to listen to me, show you how to do it. Then I'm going to give you a sample pre-qualification script, and we're all going to do it together in the accountability session, right? So you'll get real reps, and I'll go click by click by click by click. Because remember, my promise to you is to give you the roadmap, what to do, how to do it. So you just have to click the buttons. I always say, if you can listen, follow directions, and follow through, you'll do amazing in this coaching community. Now, the third one is you'll be able to tailor your pitch. Because here's the reality of it. You will never know what somebody wants if you don't ask them. Now, when you've asked them and you have this information, the amazing thing with AI is it can interpret different data points in a conversation like no human ever can. Like it's crazy. You can literally put in a prompt at the end of this. Can you write me a handwritten note based on one thing that Nikki and Dixie said that they probably didn't think I listened to, and send a link to a gift on Amazon less than $25? Do you know how like crazy that is when you send someone a note like that? And I remember doing this in New Jersey live for a top agent when we literally did the live pre-qualification, we tailored the pitch. And when the woman came up, everyone was like, good luck, she's a hard ass. Those are the exact words. Because I turned around and I'm like, anybody can come up. And she goes, oh, I can't wait to come up here, do Chirag. Let's see if this really works. So I was like, so you're really just trying to prove me wrong? She's like, kind of. And I'm like, okay, great. When we wrote her the note, she's like, she was like baffled. She's like, how did that figure this out? I'm like, that would have landed in you. She's like 100%. So if we're not using AI, number one, we're never going to get the best result. Number two, I don't care who you pitch against. If you understand behavioral psychology, safety and security, the 4 motivations of human behavior, I don't care who you pitch against in the world, the people are going to have a feeling that they don't understand that you're safe and that you're right, because it's been so tailored to all of the words they said, all of the things they wanted. Think about it. ChatGPT has 180 IQ in every job field in the world. So it's putting all of these different data points together against your specific listing presentation. Now, look, there are parts of this that'll tell you, like, take all the compass stuff out. You have to leave this stuff in about your company, but you can definitely trim it down based on your client. So here's the 5 steps of pre-qualifying. Number one, framing, right? So many times in the conversation with pre-qualifying with sellers, you can do this before you meet people. I can call people up very easily and say, hey, Nikki and Dixie, it's Chirag from Compass. How are you? It's, oh, great. Do you have a few minutes that I could ask you? Can I ask you a few really important questions so that we could solely focus our time together talking about what's most important to you? The only thing that you two heard is solely focused our time talking about what's most important to me, because that's what they care about. Not like, can I ask you some questions? I would like to pre-qualify you, or can I ask, it doesn't matter. So then I go through the questions and you're going to say, perfect. I'll send you a recap with this information that's in your Compass One timeline, right? So essentially we're covering just step one today, right? That's it. But if you don't get this step right, you are never, ever going to get the same outcome that you want. So framing the conversation, framing essentially is the context based on someone's present value system, belief system, the way they see the world to align with what you're going to talk about, right? The next one is listening to listen. Do not answer a single freaking thing that they want. I said freaking just to emphasize the point. Don't do it. You will ruin the whole entire process. Because listening to listen is not listening to respond. It's not listening to take notes. It's really just being present to another person. That at the end of it, the only thing they're thinking about is, wow, they really heard me. They really listened to me. And that equals they care. I always say the best form of love is just being present and listening. It doesn't even matter what you say half the time. Echoing back. Now, this is a sales technique, right? So let's go back to our clients in Florida. So when they're moving and they go through their motivations, it's like, great, saving on taxes and going on vacations, perfect. So what are you most excited about? I'm just repeating back a couple words that they said to show that I listened. Then when you get really good at this, you'll be able to recap the conversation. So I would turn around and say, Nikki and Dixie, would it be okay if I just recapped or just went over everything that I heard to make sure that I listened to every detail that was important to you? And they're going to say, sure. So I'm going to say, what's motivating you right now to make a move is that you're retiring and you want to save on New York City taxes so you can go on more vacations. What you're most excited about happening directly as a result of a move is living walking distance to the beach and taking that tax savings and going on those 2 bucket list vacations a year. Your expectations of an agent are somebody that has an elaborate marketing plan and can drive a lot of traffic to your house. Your communication expectations is somebody's proactive, so you don't ever have to worry what's going on. Your past disappointments have really been around communication, where last time when you sold your house, your wife was anxious because she never knew what was going next and where they were going to move to. Ultimately, your concerns are you don't have to sell your house to buy a new one, and you know the Florida market and the neighborhood you're moving is very demanding, so you want to make sure that you find a home before you put this on the market. Did I listen to everything you say correctly? Is there anything else you think is important to add on? Now, if you do that before you even meet somebody, do you think you've set yourself apart from every other agent that they're going to speak with that doesn't even do this? 100%. I always joke around, but I'm serious in saying this. By using this one process, you'll get an amazing return on every dollar you invest in this program, hands down. And for the people that are like, but I don't know how to do this, I haven't memorized it. You know what? Every important person reads off a piece of paper when they gave a speech. So instead of saying, can I ask you the questions, if you have to do it live or in person, if you don't have that opportunity, I wrote down a few really important questions to ask you so we can solely focus our time together on what's most important to you. I would literally read this off a piece of paper. And if somebody says, are you reading off a piece of paper? You're going to say 100% Chirag, because I want to make sure that I ask you these specific questions so we could focus our conversation only on what's most important to you. If your action drives their ideal outcome, they will follow the action. If your action in their mind drives your outcome, they're not going to follow your action. They're going to resist you. Can it be any more simple than that? No, it cannot. So we went through framing the conversation, right? But framing in anything is so important, whether it's a communication plan, whether it's your marketing plan, right? If you're going through Compass 3-phase marketing, phrasing it as three strategic launches that mirror when Hollywood launches a movie. A communication plan, framing that conversation around, would you ever drop your phone off, something to be serviced, where you don't know the hours of operation, you don't know what days are open, you don't know how to make an after hours appointment. If you have an emergency, you don't even know how to get in touch with them. They're going to say, no, I would never do that. And it's like, well, I sliced my finger cutting a green juice yesterday, but cutting up my greens for green juice, so I can't really snap. But literally, you just snap your fingers, you're like, great, I want to make sure that you don't have that experience when selling your most valuable asset. And now you have them in alignment with structured communication, which gives you your life back and they have a better experience. So listening to listen, please be present. Don't have formulated responses, and you don't have to write notes. Like, just spend $200 on a plug note. That's it. And for the new people here, you can ask all the other people here that use Plod Notes how effective it is. Kristen Johnson has been putting all of these things through. Danielle Ochoa, I don't know if she's here or not, but she's another one that's been using projects and everything really well, right? So Matt uses as well. Like, anyone that's using this has a competitive advantage over everyone else. Because let me ask you this question. How on God's green earth can you document down everything that a person says to you? And if you ever wonder how to stay in touch with your past clients, we haven't had anyone do this yet. But if you've documented all of the things that people say to you, you know how easy is it to just go into your ChatGPT project and say, how do I write Nikki and Dixie a note? I haven't talked to them in 6 months. And it has to reference a detail that they shared to me that they probably thought I did not listen to. If you find some micro nuance in what somebody said, you haven't heard from them, they'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe you remember that 6 months later. You're back in the game. Echoing, we've talked about that. It's just repeating the client's words. It builds rapport. It clarifies understanding. Recapping the conversation, it invites them a chance to clarify. It confirms next steps. But to me, this is where like the rubber meets the road, and you ultimately win the client over. Now, you see how this is in big, bold letters here? Do not say what you will do. Like, you have to resist this temptation when someone's like, you know, I want a marketing plan like Hollywood. And you're like, oh my God, I got Compass 3-phase marketing. It is going to happen. It's going to be in the blood of your body because you've done it so many damn times. Stop. It ruins the whole process and the whole experience for the client. So you record the conversation, you phrase the conversation, you ask the Med C, you recap the conversation, and we'll start next week with the ChatGPT project. Now, these steps are here. We'll give you the slide. I don't want to spend a ton of time in it, but you create the contacts, you group them as leads. The tags are really important. You want a tag that's a seller, that it's not listed, the neighborhood, the price point, and listing appointment. Because if they don't list, you can still look at not listed and pull the tags if you have buyers, because you can run the price point not listed and you can match people. Also put the year in, right? So you can start pulling this stuff by years. And ultimately, everything you promise somebody is a task. So when you log into Compass and you hit the task, you can see all the things you promise people. I always say, fulfill the promises of yesterday before you make new ones for today, right? And when you're entering in a task, because they don't have a time frame, it's like, send Nikki and Dixie the recap email by, and put the time in. So when you hit tasks and you see the ones you have to do today, it's like by 3 p.m., by 1 p.m., by 10 a.m. So you know which ones to do first. So this is pretty much just entering it. This is creating notes. And when you put it all together, get the plot note, pre-qualify, record the conversation, put it in the ChatGPT project, and also your Med C you should put in the note section of your CRM just so you have it. So we're going to give you all of these slides and everything else. So you'll have in your portal, you'll have the 7 keys to effective conversations. I'd look at that over a few times. You'll have your Med C script. Now, here's the one thing I want you to focus on this week. Everyone should block an hour off. Whether you find somebody in I call my Tinder dating box as the chat, and find somebody to role play with. If you don't have someone to role play with, I would still, even if you are role playing with somebody, do this anyway. I would read those questions 10 to 20 times a day, over and over and over and over again. save them in the notes section of your phone, say to them, you know, moving is probably one of the least exciting things to do. Nothing anyone wants to wake up and turn their life around. What makes this the right time to make a move? What are you most excited about happening as a direct result of your move? What are your expectations of an agent you partner with the sale of your home? What are your expectations on communication from the agent? You know, in an effort to meet and exceed your expectations, it's important to have an understanding of what past disappointments you had with agents and or service providers, so we ensure that none of those are repeated during this process. Lastly, do you have any concerns? These are things that keep you up at night. The economy, interest rates, not having a place to go, maybe not getting the right amount of money out of your house. What concerns do you have? And the more you can practice it, the more normal it will sound. I can promise you one thing in life, like life, death, taxes. You can count on life, you can count on death, you can count on taxes. And the fourth one is you can count on the MedC working 100% of the time. And look, you have to use your emotional intelligence here. If somebody has an estate that they're selling, right, you might want to skip over the M, right? Like, what's motivating you to sell this house from your mom that just died? You can't do that, right? All the session recordings are uploaded. So here's what happens at the end of this. We had everyone elect a primary track. If you're newer here, we're going to make sure that we send you this email as well. The people that elected the seller track, once we upload the recording, you're going to get an email that says your recording and resources are uploaded. Here's 3 key takeaways, and here's the one thing we want you to work on. So at the end of every session, you know the one area of practice